Welcome, everybody, or welcome back to Becoming Your Own BFF. And I have a very special gift for all of you today. A friend of mine is going to be joining us in a moment, Vanessa Simpson. She is one of the most incredible human beings I have ever met in my entire life. After you listen to her, you're going to see why I feel that way. We have a lot to talk about. Every time we do one of these, we did one before, and it was like, bah, 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 and we just kept talking and talking. I'm going to do my best to watch the time, but I'm really excited to have her here today. And we're going to talk about a lot of different things. And without further ado, let me introduce you to Vanessa Simpson. There she is. Vanessa.
The curtain's open. Hello.
Right? Boom. I'm finally figuring out how to do this whole thing. And for those of
Yes.
you didn't catch all this, but this is the first time that I'm actually interviewing someone, and to get it all set up and figured out, it was getting a little frustrating. But my thought is, isn't that how life goes? There's all those little frustrating points, but you just keep going and figuring it out. It's not this, it's not that, it may be this, maybe that, but have enough patience to work through it. And here we are. So yay. And here's Vanessa.
Thank you, Randy, for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. It is my pleasure. So I think we met actually, here's a cool thing. We have never actually been in the same room together. It's always been through that little camera thing right there, or through our Zoom calls and catch-ups and all that. But I think it was during the pandemic, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we met
Mhm.
through Sense of Soul, through
Yeah.
Shanna and Mandy. And if
Mhm.
any of you have not checked out their podcast, it is amazing. I love their work and what they're doing. So Sense of Soul, phenomenal. I'm going to actually have Shanna on here sometime and we're going to chat. I
Yeah.
know, because I'm just so proud of her and what she's accomplished. So I just want to promote people. So
Mhm.
Vanessa is a yoga instructor, right?
Mhm.
Aren't you
Mhm.
a yoga teacher, trainer person?
Yeah, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm an integrative bodywork therapist. So help people through the use of bodywork and the psychosomatic connection of how emotions get stored in the body and
Mhm.
help them heal by connecting to the wisdom of this, as Chris Lee would say, this meat suit.
Was that his? He's the one who came up with the meat suit?
Well, at least that's where I heard it from.
Oh,
So
that is so cool. Yeah, and Chris is going to be on here one day too. Maybe one day the three of us can do like an episode. That would be so much fun.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Mhm.
So tell our audience, for those who don't know you and from until now, a little bit about you and how you got to this space and place in your life. Because you started pretty young. That was
Mhm.
one of the things that really impressed me about you, is that you are such an old soul that has so
Mhm.
much wisdom for someone so not so young, but for someone your age. It's not typical. So talk a little bit about your journey and what got you here and the transitions you've made and all of that. So give our listeners a little background into Vanessa.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like what really started it all for me was when I graduated high school and I had no idea who Vanessa wanted to be in the world, what she wanted to do. I knew a few things about what I was coming to be passionate about, but I was just not sure what I wanted to do in the world. And I feel that the pressure that one can feel when going through a life transition of any type, there's like this grieving that happens. There's this coming into the unknown, and that feels so incredibly scary to our mind and our egos. And
Mm.
so going through that transition, I felt extremely lost. I felt like I didn't have a sense of purpose, a sense of connection. At this point, I was entering into the space of spirituality a little bit, and this was showing itself through my isolation from the people that I used to hang out with. Like, we
Mm.
just weren't talking the same language anymore, and we just weren't connecting on the same vibe that we used to. And this felt really alone. So, on top of feeling all of this pressure, I'm feeling this lack of purpose, lack of clarity and direction. I felt really alone too. And it wasn't until I started connecting spiritually to the universe. I didn't know what I believed in at the time, but it was really opening myself up to something somewhere out there that's bigger than me. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror, looking at these eyes that I was not sure who this person was looking back at me. And I asked these 3 questions. Who am I? Why am I here? And what's my purpose? And I made a declaration and asked for a purpose that was much bigger than myself. That led me into studying then massage therapy, which then soon after that, my dad ended up passing away, and that was another big spark in my spiritual awakening journey. And then I started studying at the Medicine Women's School of the Healing Arts and learning more about energy medicine. Started working with clients and helping them through their emotions and mentalities that they were struggling with at that time. Just I worked with whoever would work with me. I mean, I get it. I'm 19 years old. Someone could look at me and be like, how could you help me with my 20 years of trauma? But I was like, whatever. I want to just focus on the intent of helping people. And that's where I was being guided. So that's really what sparked my journey. It was connecting to, when I asked those 3 questions, I felt like I was receiving the answers little by little by little. And still to this day, I feel like those 3 questions are a never-ending answer, and a never-ending question throughout our life, especially through those transitions where you're losing a part of your identity, or more so transforming an aspect of yourself. And so that led me to where I am today. I'm now a new mom. My baby's 2 years old. I took 2 years off of building my business after 4 years of business building. I went into 2 years of baby building and slowly getting back into, again, that process. It was a transition that I'm rediscovering who Vanessa is, like right now as we speak.
Yeah, and it's one of those never-ending things, and I like how you put that, because a lot of people get to a stage and like, okay, I'm good, and then they just stay there and they get stagnant. But part of what I want my audience to do is to realize that you're never done. There's always more. There's always more to learn, more to grow. Self-esteem is one of those things that constantly evolves. And I think you're speaking to that as you're figuring out who you are and what your purpose is, when we can connect to something greater, and it's not just about us, it's about having that purpose, then we feel more fulfilled. It's like the more we give, the more we get. Do you find that too?
100%. And what's I feel like is a kind of a nick in that armor of truth, that yes, you get what you give, but that's not just always about others. Like after becoming a mom, and I think becoming a mom is the most selfless, just being a parent is the most selfless job that you can undertake.
Absolutely.
You cannot forget about to give to yourself.
Has to be first.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your tank is empty, how do you give to your kid? Right? So
You figure a way, but it doesn't feel that great when it's 3 a.m. and they're needing something to eat. Well, you figure out a way, but yes.
we learn new levels of flexibility when we become a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how deep your strength actually goes. Like I didn't know I was able to survive off of a year of being sleep deprived. I didn't know that was possible.
Uh-huh. And I remember talking to you at times when you're like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's just one foot in front of the other. And it's difficult. As I transitioned with Eden, my daughter, through her life, during those difficult times, my first thought is, okay, how are we going to do this? Ooh, how am I going to present this to her? How am I going to be there for her? And that's the question that's always there. And I'm sure you're finding that too. How can I be there for her? And the first thing is taking care of you.
Mm-hmm. 100%. So we
Yeah.
can't, yes, like let's be of service to the world, but you also and you're going to recharge yourself through that too. But there is a level that I'm finding as I've work with people, especially the people that are people pleasers and
Mm,
people that are just have such big open hearts. You can take so much care of everyone around you and yet start to feel unhappy and unfulfilled inside. And the missing equation is you, and making sure that you are filling yourself up in the ways that maybe it feels selfish a little bit. It doesn't have
mhm,
to do anything with other people. You can just do what makes you happy. Like, no one else is going to get behind the wheel and drive this car for you of your
mm,
life.
yeah.
This is you.
But the hard part about that for people who are the people pleasers and the codependents and all that, when they do anything for themselves, they do feel like they're selfish.
Mhm.
And to break that pattern can be really tough. Are there things that you teach them on how to do that?
Well, I'm one of these people. I'm a walking recovery of people pleasing, and
Yeah.
when you have a pattern for so long, I'm 20, I'm gonna be 26 next month. So I mean, I probably developed this pattern at a really young age when I found out like, oh, I can get my parents' attention, get my parents' love if I'm like uber nice and loving. And
Mhm,
so it worked for me as a child to just be so nice and loving and kind and sweet,
mhm,
and just, taking care of my, whatever I could take care of. And that can be healthy to a certain extent, right? It's about bringing these patterns into balance.
mhm.
And so it's recognizing that it's not a bad quality. We don't want to diminish it
Yeah.
entirely. It's just, where is it showing up to be toxic in your life? And
Mhm,
you can get in tune with that by how you feel in certain relationships, in certain situations, environments, on how you feel. If you're like, no, like I'm actually really not happy at this job, or I'm actually not happy right now in my relationship. No, it's not the end of the world. Like, maybe it isn't like that. You need to shift jobs or careers or relationships, but have I been speaking up about what it is that I need? And the truth is that you're going to feel uncomfortable when you start speaking up about your needs and
yeah.
start taking action in that realm. Like, when you're breaking a pattern, it's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel the guilt. You're going to
Yep.
second guess. You're going to doubt. Like, that's just part of it. But you
Mhm.
will get through that as you
Right.
continue to practice putting yourself first, which is
Yeah.
what, your book's all about.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think one of the keys also is to start developing boundaries.
Mhm.
So when a situation comes up, you're looking at, am I doing this because I want to make that other person happy? And is it going to be at my expense? So to kind of have that boundary of, why am I really doing this? To
Mhm.
please them or because I really want to? Do I want
Mhm.
to give them that afternoon of my time? Or do I need to recharge my battery and say, you know what? I would love to hang out with you and go do that with you, but just not today. Can we do it tomorrow or the next day?
Mhm.
So to have that boundary, it feels so weird at the beginning, but after a while, you know, I had someone one time call me an anti-codependent because sometimes I would go so far the other way, but it's finding that balance in the middle and that check of the boundary of saying, am I doing this because I want them to like me, or am I doing this because I really want to do it? Does that
Mhm.
help?
Mhm. Oh yeah, 100%. Like that's something that I'm still practicing on a day-to-day basis. By firstly, you have to tune into how you feel. And this is what I'm
Mhm.
finding as I'm rediscovering who Vanessa is going to be in the world yet again after
Yeah,
becoming a mother, that we are so disconnected from how we truly feel.
absolutely.
We run away from it because it feels so uncomfortable,
Hmm.
what we
Yeah.
feel inside of these meat suits.
The meat suit, yes. And one of the things that I talk about in my book and on this program a lot is how we are in a society of emotional anorexics. We don't have that range of feelings that we've been blessed with. It's we settle on sad, glad, and mad. And just the primary emotions of sad, mad, and glad. How are you feeling? Oh, I'm sad. Oh, I'm happy. But are you really? What about disappointment? What about frustration? What about anger? What about hurt? To know that range of emotions, it's hard to do. But now that you've been on that journey and started exploring yours, what does that do for your self-esteem when you really start getting in touch with your feelings and the whole range that's there, the whole rainbow?
I was doing a yoga class last night, and it was all about the throat chakra, which is our
Mm,
expression in the world. And I and through that expression, and there's also, this is how we a way that we can get to know ourselves and become authentic. And so how getting in tune with yourself, your expression, your emotions, you are coming to know who you are. And I feel that, and not that you are your emotions or feelings by any means, but you're using those pieces of information to find out um what's really meaningful for you at
mhm.
that point in time. You're making yourself a priority by taking time to reflect and understand the feelings that you have going on inside of these amazing bodies. I say meat suit, but these are wise bodies here that have so
Yeah,
much wisdom for us.
yeah,
And that's what I believe one of my big messages is, for sure, is tuning into our bodies and understanding the messages that it's providing to us. And so how getting in tune with your emotions and your feelings helps your self-esteem is you are getting to know different aspects of yourself, and nobody can take that away from you. It gives you this
yes.
sense of power because you are like, oh, why do I get triggered by that when my partner says that, and I've noticed that it's been triggering me a lot. I wonder why. Let me go and journal about that, or let me go talk to my friend about it. Like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
always getting triggered when he says this. Like, why is this? I'm like, oh, well, it actually kind of reminds me of what the dad would say to me when I was younger, and it makes me feel like, small and like I don't mean anything. And boom. So it's just
Yeah.
we are this is the beauty of that healing process, that we actually have more control over than you think. That the doctor in a medical office, or the therapist in a health office, we think that they know more about us than we do. And yes, they might
Mhm.
have the tools and knowledge to uh really help us. It's to understand yourself, to help you understand yourself better, but really no one's walked your shoes.
Yeah.
Nobody's thought your thoughts and feelings in the way that you have. You are unique.
Mhm.
And so you are actually the master of yourself. But
Yeah.
our whole life is about looking at that, looking inside of ourselves and what we've gone through and how we've interpreted what these things mean and how we feel about it. It gives you
Mhm.
that sense of self-empowerment, which is self-esteem, because you're getting to know yourself.
Yeah. You know what? I just realized this when you were talking about this. When you get in touch with the feelings, like the whole breadth and range of your feelings, it brings more depth to who you are. And it's kind of when you just have the sad, mad, and glad, it's like you have a mask up and armor around you. But when you really start to explore who you are and your feelings and where your thoughts are coming from, and to get those boundaries going, there's more depth to who you are.
Mhm.
And it can be scary at the beginning, but once you really get into it, I mean, you've seen the beauty that when you really start to see who you are. And those 3 words, "I don't know." I've been saying that a lot lately. "I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen 6 months from now. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know." And I used to be so afraid of those 3 words, but now I embrace them because "I don't know" means, wow, there's something really cool right around the corner. And it's that depth that we get to within ourselves by dealing with our feelings. You talk about journaling. I mean, how much has journaling changed your life?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
that just brings so much more dimension. So that's what we're looking for here, that self-esteem, that getting into who we are, why we're here, what our purpose is, tapping into something greater, that physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. It just brings more depth to who we are.
Mhm.
And it's
Absolutely.
beautiful. Yeah. So tell me what your plans are for your business and what you want to accomplish, because I want my listeners to kind of know a little bit more about what you're doing, because you might have some benefits to them getting involved with your stuff too. So tell me what you have going on right now.
Yeah, so we just started a podcast as well.
Nice.
Find Your Balance Now. Yes, we it's so exciting. It's been honestly, when you asked me like how did this all start, like I want to come back to that point that I shared, but then I also am like, god, but I feel like I'm starting over again since I became a mom, because honestly the last 2 years have been probably the hardest years I've ever had. And
Mhm.
that that's hard to say because having a child is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful gift, and I know that I'm only touching like the surface of that, as we continue to grow our relationship and get to know each other.
Because
But the
Vanessa, my thought was just wait till she's in middle school.
y- so I the grieving process has been so hard. So I let go of a business that I built for 4 years pretty much. And when I say let go, it's just I let go of a lot of aspects, and just to allow it to transform into what it's starting to become now.
Mhm.
And so that is Find Your Balance Now. And Fifth Dimension Therapy, what it once was before, is now Fifth Dimension Retreats and Events. So I'm building a holistic retreat center out here in Washington. That's where we are hosting events once per month right now. And still teaching yoga, but really we're focusing on these events that we're doing locally and that will eventually begin broadening out into different parts of the world. Is always been a big dream of mine to do retreats to bring people together, together, and to do that personal deep work together, because that's a huge need that we all have. That tribe fulfillment is
Mhm.
so important. And
Yeah.
so that's something that we're focusing on right now. When I say we, I did end up going from a solopreneur to having a partnership, and so
Nice.
that's been a huge change as well. When you're used to kind of being able to do what you want when you want, kind of thing. It's like being
Yep.
single, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm realizing, like, since becoming a mom, that oh, I actually don't have as much time as I once did before.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So, it's been I feel like I'm becoming a better person because of who she is, and the qualities that she brings to the relationship, that I'm
Mhm.
beginning to embody more of myself, and
Wow.
therefore becoming more of a whole person, which,
Mhm.
being in the holistic industry is great. So embodying the wholeness, and,
There you
and
go.
healing is becoming whole. That's what healing means. And so I know that that's my purpose and my calling, and it has been, and that's something that has never changed even after becoming a mom,
Yeah.
is that the helping through the healing process and becoming whole and realizing yourself in this constant evolution of you.
Mhm.
That's the journey that I'm on, and so that's of course how I mentor and coach people
Mhm.
as well, because I feel like I can't really help someone unless, you know, I've experienced it authentically.
Absolutely.
One maybe, that might not be fully true, because you can have knowledge, just like the therapist addictions counselor, but maybe they didn't actually struggle with addiction. You
Uh-huh.
can understand something, but I feel like when you're able to actually go through it yourself, there's this depth to you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's where we're at right now.
Cool. That's awesome. And here's one of the other things that I found, and I think about this a lot, because when I'm clicked in with my purpose and doing what's best for me, all of a sudden all these cool little things kind of happen out of nowhere. I was like, oh, that was awesome. Where did that person come from? Or, whoa, that just came into my life. I mean, it's, are you finding that too, that those little coincidences happen when you're tuned in to like doing what's best for you and the people around you? Like really cool things start to happen. Does that happen for you too?
Well, this is one of them, like being on here with you when we just started our podcast as well. And I actually just had an interview last week for a feminine leadership
Mhm,
summit through these connections that I made prior to baby. So
mhm.
it's like just because I let go of a lot, there's still so much that was really the work that needed to be done to set the stage for this next evolution.
Yeah.
So that's important to remember as well. And so this is one of them, was starting our podcast, being to be on yours, and just getting back into like dusting off the cobwebs here.
Yes.
uh, that
Mhm.
I know using my voice has always been something that, I mean, I'm not a singer, so don't ask me to sing. I won't. I'm
No.
not going to quit my day job for that.
Mhm.
But uh yeah, I know that using my voice is something that I'm destined to do, and
Absolutely.
it it scares me, but those are the things that are coming in as I'm
Mhm.
continuing to align,
Yeah.
is opportunities to dust off the cobwebs and sit
Yes.
back into the
Mhm.
driver's seat and let's go.
Exactly, because I, and we've talked before about you becoming a speaker also and doing more of that. And I totally see you doing this. I mean, I've had this vision, my goal is to build my audience so that we can start doing retreats and then eventually a Steam Fest. I'm going to be doing that at some point in the future. And I've had this vision of you. I introduce you on stage and you're walking up the stage and you just have that big radiant smile on your face. And I see what you're wearing. It's like this flowing, multicolored like scarf type thing that's flowing behind you as you're walking up on stage. And I see you just
Mhm.
grabbing the microphone. Well, you have a lavalier and just commanding the stage because your presence is just there. I totally see that happening. So yes, your voice is how you deliver your message. And yeah, there's probably a book in there in your future too, but uh-huh. But I see great things happening for you, and it's so beautiful that you're 26 and you already have so much knowledge, and you have so
Mhm.
much to teach others, and I'm just so excited for you, and I want you to keep coming back, like, every now and then. We're gonna do more so that we can kinda see your growth and development, especially as Aspen grows and changes. You're gonna grow and change, because that's
Mhm.
one of the most beautiful parts of parenting, is that we shift as they shift. As when I make decisions in my life, one of my first thoughts is, okay, how am I going to tell Eden? What's going to be the impact there? So she's always a thought in my mind. She's one of the first thoughts I have in the morning and one of the last thoughts I have at night. And that's the beauty of having a child and children, is it's beautiful, but you're right. Got to take care of yourself first.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
it makes you definitely live more intentionally, which is what I
Yeah.
was always about prior to. So to take that to the next level, to be mindful and intentional and still on the healing path, like I definitely see how, you're healing yourself through being a parent. You're
Hmm.
parenting, your inner child, pretty much, these tendencies that just come out of nowhere and you're like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, I didn't like who just came out right there. Who was
Uh-huh.
that?" And
Yeah.
so the work continues. Thank
Oh,
you, Randy.
thank you, Vanessa. It was great having you here. We will do this again. And I'm going to put your contact info in the captioning for the video and for the podcast so that people know how to get in touch with you. Because I just think you have so much to offer, and I'm excited to watch your audience grow too. Yeah.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank
I'm
you,
excited.
Vanessa. Big hugs. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Do one of your retreats here in Orlando. We'll hang out. We'll go do some Disney time. Yeah.
Yay! Inner child retreat.
Yes, that's what it's all about. Cool. All
Mhm.
right. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later.
You too.
All right.
Bye.